I wasn't quick enough with a transition. I popped up for a second and it looked super weird. Anyways, everyone, welcome to the pipeline where we discuss the news of the week over the past week. So this time we are, of course, joined by Tom, Triss, and Joey to discuss all the hot topics of not just the week, but also today, because we had some news coming in hot this morning, starting off with something that really got me excited, and that's the fact that Jim Carrey confirmed to be returning as Dr. Robotnik in Sonic the Movie 3. Thank God, because he, as you know, I'm not the biggest Sonic fan, but I really enjoyed the first movie, and I think it's largely because of his performance. And I don't know how you have a Sonic movie without A, Eggman or Robotnik, and B, now with Jim Carrey. But and there seemed to be, I don't know how the rest of you were feeling, but to me, it seemed like there was a real chance he wasn't going to return, as Jim Carrey had already touched on the fact that I think that he was thinking of retiring or had largely retired. I'm not quite sure fully, but yeah, what are we thinking about this?
It's shocking, honestly, in a good way, because I really did think he was going to retire, and the ending of 2 made me think they were setting up like Agent Stone or someone else was going to take up the mantle as the main villain with the mystery of what happened to Robotnik. Like I thought maybe if he came back, it'd be for like a cameo or for like a couple scenes, like, you know, like flashbacks or something like that. Not
Right.
this. And I'm actually very happy about this because he really is the star of the show for these movies. Like, yeah, it's not his movies in the title and like the name of the title, obviously, but Jim Carrey brings so much life to these movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think I remember when that first Sonic trailer came out, you know, the one with ugly Sonic, and I was gonna see, and I said I'm still gonna see this for Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
and now it's like, yeah, he's got to come back for this. I don't know if that means like he got a bigger paycheck or he actually genuinely liked the scripts that was given to him, but it's a good sign, I think.
yeah.
It did seem like he had a lot of fun with the role. I mean, I think he kind of expressed that too, even after filming the movies.
You hear him in interviews, he thinks about this role more than the screenwriters did. I know it. He's just like he said in one interview, he's just like, Sonic is the essence of youth that Robotnik wants. And I'm just like, oh my God.
I love
Jim,
it.
I love you.
You kind of got that sense too, at least in the first movie, especially, where like it felt like he was just doing whatever he wanted to. You know, they just filmed him and then they made it work in the movie, and it was perfect. It was great.
Yes.
I love Jim Carrey being back here. Like, we missed him for a long time, really. But I'm going to throw out too that do we get more Agent Stone scenes with him? I mean, that's what I love at this point as well.
I hope so.
I feel like we have to. Yeah, they gave him a much bigger presence in the second movie. So I feel like that was due to fan feedback, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But I gotta feel like Agent Stone will return somehow.
Agent Stone better return.
Mm-hmm.
At least if not as a stone as the character. But
to do some more reconnaissance.
Yeah, I legit lost it so hard during that scene. I'm like, oh my God, that's great. So we have some related news to this. First off is the fact that they revealed the trailer, they revealed the final logo for the movie. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I believe it's based on Sonic Adventure. Is that correct?
Sonic Adventure 2,
it's based
baby.
on Sonic Adventure 2. Obviously, the 2 is replaced by a 3, but it's very exciting. Like seeing that there as the logo kind of comes on, you hear part of Live and Learn, and I'm pumped for it.
Triss, I don't hear it. Am I crazy?
You don't hear it?
I don't hear it.
I kind of put it together in the little update video I did about it. Where you hear a little bit of both.
I'll have to check it out.
You
heard it?
I was trying so hard to hear it because you don't understand. Sonic Adventure 2 is like one of my favorite games of all time. So it's just like this movie is being made for me and specifically for me. Like if I hear just the fact that I hear Live and Learn in this trailer, apparently, I'm sorry I don't hear it yet, but I will. But that must mean it's going to be in the movie. And when that happens, I will bawl my eyes out in the theater surrounded by children who are going to look at me funny after that.
That's why I'm lucky when I saw the Mario movie, it was with like a bunch of like middle-aged critics, so
Yes.
Although which almost made it weirder in a sense. Anyways, something else that Triss, something else. I mean, it's pretty obvious in what it was, but you noted that the laugh we hear during the logo reveal sounded like Jim Carrey's laugh. Now that instantly there was a lot of discussion immediately online. Is that Jim Carrey? Is that the possible voice of Shadow the Hedgehog, as we've been hearing rumors of? But we now know for sure, Ben Schwartz confirming that is in fact Jim's laugh. He continues adding that the logo is an homage to Sonic Adventure 2. Is that Live and Learn I hear? And then You Are Not Ready. So he broke down a lot of what we just discussed. But I love the hype going into this. Like he's totally excited for this film.
It's great, honestly. Like I think I need to see more of this. I need to see more of the actors involved hyping it up, because I think especially with what Sonic Adventure 2 is to the Sonic community, that's really going to get them a lot of engagement too.
Exactly.
It means Sega knows how much Sonic Adventure 2 means to us, and they still haven't remastered it. So,
considering, well, I was just gonna say the Super Bowl is coming up. Maybe there's a chance at another bigger look then, but
that'd be
might be
nice.
too early.
Yeah, Shadow came from Sonic Adventure 2, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So this really is the year of Shadow, as you eloquently put yesterday in your video, Joey, which is awesome. Yeah, it really seems like Shadow's like getting his time back in the limelight, which it's been too long, hasn't it? It's been way too long since.
Way too long. Yeah, he's made some appearances here and there, but like I kind of feel like Sega, after at least Sonic 06, where Shadow was a big part, they've kind of just been like, okay, we're gonna rein in Shadow a bit. Like he'll be a boss battle in Sonic Generations, like the original, but like that's really about it. Then they started putting him in Sonic Forces. He wasn't in Sonic Frontiers at all, though. So yeah, it's just like make up for lost time. Sega, give us more Shadow.
I love some of the hype in the chat, like Master 106 saying, I love Sonic Adventure 2. And I know they're not alone. I think a ton of people love that game, or at least have fond memories of it.
Yeah.
And I think this movie could actually, I think it could be huge, honestly. I mean, the first two Sonic movies already performed, pretty well. I think, I think they were among the top grossing, video game animated movies up until the Mario movie came along. But now that Mario's really kind of like busted down the door, and now that Sonic's, bringing Shadow into the fold, Jim, now we have the third movie in the series. I feel like this could be the biggest one yet. I think it very well likely be the biggest one yet. I think it'll finally broach possibly the 500 million mark, which I don't think either have yet up to this point.
I think something really fun too is you can already tell they're really going all in on like trying to hype this movie out. Like this isn't coming out until December, but they're already like starting to give it their all. Like, do we remember with Sonic Movie 2, we had like the poster that emulated like the game box art? Like we saw they were really going it all in on that.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to get that again with this movie, because even though Sonic Adventure 2 is like the big thing here, this is still technically by name Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for, the third movie. Today is actually the 30th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the original game.
Oh wow!
What?
And I think all that was timed. That game came out on February 2nd, 1994. I think all that was timed for today. I think that's why they made this announcement today.
I'm looking this up just to fact check.
They're going
fact checking in real time.
It sounds like that sounds accurate for what the Genesis era would be. Like it'd be right before Donkey Kong Country and stuff. So.
Although, could it also be, Tris, that is February 2nd being Groundhog's Day, which
Groundhog Day.
It's possible. It's all connected. It all comes together.
Everything in the universe is now culminating in this moment. Everything is meant for this. So correct. Kind of speaking on that note too. Barely, but I'm going to go with it. We now have some more casting information too, beyond just Jim Carrey coming back, and that includes stars from Jessica Jones, Ted Lasso, Furiosa.
Furiosa.
Thank you. Which specifically includes Christian Ritter, Aaliyah Brownie. I'm probably butchering these names. James Wolk, Sophia Pernaz, Cristo Fernandez, and James Tacone. So I don't know. I know
Yorma Tacone. Yeah, Yorma Tacone is from The Lonely Island from Saturday Night Live. He does a lot of work with Andy Samberg of Brooklyn Nine-Nine fame. Yeah, I do wonder. Like, I kind of feel like none of these people are playing Shadow though. I feel like they're saving.
No.
I feel like they're saving that for a big reveal.
Exactly, 100%. That's an announcement right there. So, pairing this cast with the Jim Carrey news, like that's the best way to get all that news out there. Kind of like together, I feel like, and you'll like kind of boost the role of these co-stars, I think. But yeah, Shadow is definitely going to get its own distinct announcement down the line. Probably,
absolutely.
We have
go ahead.
Say that again. Oh, I was just going to say, somebody in the comments, Alexander Jackson says the girl on the far right looks like Maria. Maybe
I was going to say that. Yeah,
that's a good guess. Yeah. Maria's for those who don't know, Maria is the girl that Shadow befriends, and that's all I'll say. If you don't know anything about Shadow lore.
As the number one, shadow expert, Joey, or song super fan, all of a sudden I know exactly what you mean.
Jesus.
Man, no, but I definitely think she's gonna be Maria. But the rest of these are other ones I'm very curious on too, because like how many of them are gonna be playing Sonic characters? Like I see some people on chat have already mentioned. I think this article itself even mentions people think Kristen Ritter is gonna be playing Rouge the Bat, who plays a key role in the original Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh, I didn't
And
think about that.
which could absolutely happen. But
Yes.
for example, I think Yorma Tacone could end up being another one of the people at the police station, for example. Like
Yeah.
because he's a comedian, and I kind of think they're grouping all the comedians there. So point is, I can see not all of these people playing actual Sonic characters, and then playing a bunch of human characters. But I can also see like a little bit of a mix in there too.
Please don't be another extended family.
You gotta give
some
Shadow a family too.
He's like born and raised on Earth, but he's
Oh
just
man.
in a hard part of town. I don't know.
What I want to know is where is the Big the Cat reveal? What are they waiting for? 3 movies, still no word on
I'm
Big.
willing to bet Yorma Tacone's playing Big the Cat for some reason. He's had a lot of minor voice roles over the years, and like he could put on a Big the Cat. I could do it right now. Hey, where's Froggy? So there, cast me as Big.
So,
I don't care.
Here's the thing, though. It depends on how close to specifically Sonic Adventure 2 they're sticking, because Big isn't actually in that game outside of like little stage cameos. It's Sonic Adventure 1 that he's in, and obviously the question right now is if there's jumping straight to Sonic Adventure 2, will they cover anything from Sonic Adventure 1? And
Doubt it.
some of the characters that come up there, like Big the Cat, Amy is kind of a big one in both games that we haven't heard anything of yet. Maybe Kristen Ritter will actually be Amy instead of Rouge. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, too, obviously there is Sonic Adventure 2 inspiration for any number of reasons, but I don't think they're not gonna adhere perfectly to that game's original plot, too. So,
of course,
I mean, they've already been playing a lot with the lore and things of that nature. So, yeah, I see a lot of people, wanting specifically Amy in the game or in the movie. And do we think there's a chance that could happen here, or are they going to hold off on that for?
There's always a chance, but I don't know. Something tells me they don't want to throw in too many CGI animated characters all at once, like,
including Jim Carrey.
I hope Jim Carrey gets fat for this, or like they put a fat suit on him at the very least.
Instead of like,
I think he said he's wanted to be Fat Eggman for a while now.
Well,
that's the final form. Yeah,
he had the Grinch costume. They could have something like that, like the gut have it shaking all around.
He doesn't.
Now
he doesn't have to withstand torture and learn how to deal with it from the CIA. But yeah.
This whole thing, the Grinch reminded me of the fact that there was an amazing Grinch meet and greet at Universal Studios, and now I want an Eggman, Dr. Robotnik's meet and greet at Universal or at any theme park. I wonder, now that I think about it, I wonder, this is totally unrelated, if Universal could even work with Sega on something like that. I wonder if Nintendo has like an exclusivity clause or something, like only Nintendo video games or something. Who knows?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
He'd be a good fit at Six Flags. Maybe.
Oh, that's true. Get that minimal theming.
Yes, exactly. Very minimal.
Something worth noting too, though, is if they are looking to add more CGI characters, like if we do potentially see Rouge and Amy, so they may not both like first debut in this. Like a lot of people theorize Rouge is actually going to be in the Knuckles show as like the debut and then carry into the movie. So that might be the case. Whereas Amy might debut here in the movie.
That would be smart. Yeah, that'd be really smart, actually. That would be genius. Because, I mean, when's the movie releasing again?
The movie releases December 20th. And
so the
Knuckles show was supposed to be first half of this year, I think.
Right. Yeah, that'd be genius. I mean, tying into the third movie in some way, I think would be a really smart play. So,
especially since like I'd be really shocked that they added Rouge but not Amy, when Amy is nowadays very much like the fourth character in Sonic, like the player 4, so to say, after Tails and Knuckles. So it'd be weird to go 3 movies and not have Amy, but have Rouge get added.
There's always the tease character at the end too. So
true.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Are you saying of the TV show, Tom?
Well, like at the end of the movie, there's always a tease, like to keep you in for the next one. So
yeah, who's the tease for song 4 then? Right. That's that's Big the Cat. They're teasing Big the Cat. There we go. Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'll be honest. I wasn't the biggest fan of the song 2. the Sonic movie too. I still enjoyed it, but I really enjoyed the first one. But I enjoyed it enough that I'm going to check out 3 regardless. And especially with Jim Carrey being back, seeing all the excitement for Shadow, I'm very curious to see what form this ends up taking. But it does feel like they are moving closer and closer to the games,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Speaking of the games, we got more big Sonic news this week. There was a state of play, and we weren't able to live stream it, but there were multiple announcements during it. But I think the biggest one for at least us and our fan base was Sonic X Shadow Generations, a remaster of Sonic Generations, now with a brand new Shadow component. I believe a whole side mode. Joey, you did a whole Joey and Tress, you both did in-depth breakdowns and discussions on this. But yeah, how are you feeling about this now that you had time to process the news? What are your expectations? Are you excited for this? Let's start off with you, Joey, on this one.
I'm very excited. I didn't think it was going to be something like this, really. Like, this was rumored like a few days beforehand. And so I just thought, okay, maybe they'll just put Shadow in have his own exclusive levels, but nothing much more. But they're doing like a whole side story, not just like levels, but a straight up story. It looks like bringing back the villain from Shadow the Hedgehog, Black Doom, or Doom's Eye, as we see in the trailer. He has like his own little weird looking form. Today is a great day to be alive. I agree. Genre Productions. Yeah, and it's just so cool to see. Like, I didn't think Sega was ever going to acknowledge Shadow the Hedgehog, the game, again. Oh, look what I have right here. It's
God.
Man, this game, I'm gonna be real, it's awful, but I got a lot of good memories with it. Just like Shadow saying the D word.
I like how that's how mature it is that we have to censor ourselves.
Yeah, looking for this.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's so cool to see that Sega's doing that. I am a little bit worried. We didn't see too much. Like, I wonder like how long this side story is, how substantial it is. That's what's concerning a bit. They tried to do something similar with Sonic Forces called Episode Shadow, but it was like a 15-minute prologue, kind of.
That was a DLC as well. Yeah,
it was DLC also. So
yeah, like they really forced it.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Just like, that game in general was just bad, though. Sonic Generations is a much better game. I actually played like 90% of it the other day because I was capturing footage for the comparison that I did. Turns out they only used 2 levels from that game, so I accidentally almost beat it. So I might as well just beat it and then add that to my list of games I beat in 2024. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. Generations is a fun time. It's got some jank to it, but what Sonic game doesn't? Yeah, Triss, what do you think? You did the analysis.
Yeah,
straight up.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about this. As someone in the chat said too, exactly what I'm thinking. This remaster very much feels like Sega's answer to Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. It's a port of a game, or in this case, a remaster of a game, coupled with kind of a smaller game with it. That's also going to be its own thing in its own right. I've been calling it Shadow Generations, like that side of it. Just I don't know what it'll actually be called, but it just kind of helps get the idea across. And I think while Sonic Generations I am excited for, because I really love that Sonic game. It's a lot of fun. This side of things makes me really hopeful that we're really seeing Sega dip back into a lot of the charm of like the mid 2000s era of Sonic, like the early to mid 2000s of where they're really trying to go all out on their characters and have stories for them and do a lot with them. And especially with Shadow, outside of that Sonic Forces 15-minute DLC, we really haven't seen too much of that. And we already see from this that, I mean, it pulls ideas from Shadow the Hedgehog, the game, which is shocking. It has some of Shadow's abilities from that game. Like, we see him throw a Chaos Spear at one point, which I'm pretty sure in the Sonic Forces DLC, he basically just played like Sonic. So he has a lot of his gameplay identity in this game as well. And the little like about page, I think from Steam, even mentions that there's new abilities he's going to get here. So while it may not be like a full on like sell this game for $40 on its own game, I do think it's at least going to be bigger than the Sonic Forces DLC, which is good. It might be comparable in like story length to Sonic Generations on its own, which if you're just playing the story isn't very long, but it's a decent amount of levels, all things considered.
Like a couple hours? Are we talking?
We're
Or
talking like I played maybe like 2 hours the other day, and I unlocked all the levels. I have yet to beat the final boss, but yeah, it's a really short game. It really is. It doesn't feel as short as Sonic Forces though. Sonic Forces was like embarrassingly short.
Yeah, I mean, I like so the Bowser's Fury comparison is something that gets me excited because I just recently replayed Bowser's Fury. I'm like, I still love
Nice.
this game. It's really cool. It is short by Mario standards, but it still feels meaty enough. And I just had a blast going through it. So if Shadow can channel any of that energy and quality, I think it could possibly be a reason like Bowser's Fury was to pick up this game by itself, because it looks like when it comes to Sonic Generations, they're not really doing a whole lot. I saw some hilarious responses to the comparison you made, Joey. Like the Office memes, like they're the same picture. And I did see some. A lot of people seem to be confused about this point. I don't know if it was copium or what, but a lot of people were confused, thinking that the little message at the bottom saying Cinemax or represented gameplay meant that what we were looking at wasn't the new version of Sonic Generations. I'm like, no, it is. What they're saying is anything that's not like literal gameplay being played by someone, that's not the gameplay itself. That's what they were saying, I believe, or the logo sequences. But any parts that look like they were from the game, that was the game. That's how it's going to look. It would be very weird to have done anything else. I can see why that'd be confusing, but we've seen that message in tons of trailers before.
Yeah.
So.
That's in so many trailers. Like that disclaimer's there in so many things. It was just a bit bigger there, I guess, than especially since it's an edited together trailer. You're not literally running through all those levels in one sequence like you saw in the trailer there. I think so. It's kind of to let you know this is an edited video. It is not raw gameplay.
Right.
I want to add quickly, like, I'm super pleased they're not just doing an easy remaster. They're adding in a little bit of new content. That's what I want to see in these games going forward. And it's going to be a good way to keep Sonic momentum going while having more people know about Shadow, who I guess I can't see too many people like not watching the show and just playing the games, but it'll help the momentum into the movie. So it's a smart move by Sega.
Well, there's one thing Sonic knows, it's how to maintain momentum. Unless you want to do a bad Nick or something.
Right.
I'm sorry, Joey. I'm sorry. We had a couple comments along these lines, but Ben Kibrick specifically asks who we think the voice actor is. Couldn't really tell from the teaser.
Are we talking about the movie or the game?
I assume we're talking about the game because I just came in.
Because I feel like if it's the game, it's probably the same actor who's been voicing him since Sonic Generations, actually, which I believe is Kirk Thornton. I don't know much else of what he does, but he does a lot of voice work, and he's been voicing Shadow. He's been like the voice of Shadow since Generations. So yeah, they haven't, unless they decide to change him to someone else recently. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's probably the same voice actor that he's had from recent game appearances. If we're talking about the movie, no idea. They purposely still haven't announced that yet because they're probably going to make like a really big deal out of announcing that separately from anything else.
I think so too. I know the rumor is Hayden Christensen. Which people seem to be a big fan of, and I'm just like, did I freeze for a second? Okay,
yeah,
for a second.
I know people are saying Hayden Christensen is.
Yeah,
so shocking, right? But yeah. I'm afraid to talk now. So
no, I think you're good. I think you're okay. So it's just whenever StreamYard or Discord, whatever, notices you get excited, it's like time to freeze Joey up.
It's funny because I wasn't getting excited. I was like, I don't want Hayden Christensen. I'm sorry. I don't care about this man. Like you seem to like everyone on the internet seems to be like, yes, this is great. This is great. And I'm like, I don't care about Hayden. I'm sorry, Alan. I don't care about Hayden. I'm just like, Keanu Reeves is right there. Like, come on.
Tris, are you more excited to revisit Generations with whatever improvements it has, or are you more excited for the Shadow portion of the game?
I am more excited for the Shadow portion just because it's only been a couple years since I last played Generations. So it's still rather fresh to me. But the Shadow stuff is going to be completely new. And like Joey, I have great memories of the Shadow the Hedgehog game, even though it's not particularly good. Very fun, though. And I really want to see what basically a new Shadow game is going to be like. So.
All right, perfect. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and move on to our next story. This time, not Sonic related. We're getting off the Sonic train for the moment. But of course, we are returning to the well of Switch 2 because a reporter for Bloomberg is suggesting that based on I think like an analysis of supply chain forecasts that they're expecting Nintendo is looking to sell 10 million Switch 2s by March 2025, which sounds like a lot, especially because we don't fully know what the window of time we're dealing with here. Obviously, it would be more impressive, if the system launches in November versus say September or earlier, right? Because that's more time for it to have sold that many. But it doesn't, I'm curious what your guys' reaction to this is. Like, does this sound like a crazy amount, or does it seem reasonable?
Keep in mind, it's
yes.
make 10 million Switches, not sell. Meaning they want to make sure it's available. Like, so it's more
Okay,
so
that's a
making
good,
sure
yeah,
there's
that's
no
a good,
shortage.
that's a
There
good
is
clarification. But
yeah.
I think for Nintendo, that's almost a distinction without a difference because they want to be selling them at the same rate they're making them. Like Nintendo, I think in Nintendo's case, it almost wants shortages because that gives you headlines. So if they can sell everything they're making and get headlines for it, like the Wii back in the day, that's perfect for them. So
very true. Very true.
Yeah, we always hear about the artificial supply and demand thing, and they're like, no, we want to make as many as possible to sell them. But I always wonder how much of that is true. Like, because it helps, scarcity helps sell it.
It does,
yeah.
When there was Xbox 360 in a store and I saw it there, I'm like, I might never see
it.
one of these again. I bought it right there in the spot with Perfect Dark Zero and then cried after. But it's Perfect Dark Zero. So I'm good. And,
I think I was there for that.
Yeah. And like 10 million, though, you have to consider how many will be before Christmas. Like you can still have a Christmas shortage because let's say they only have 3 million and then they like ramp up after into March. You can still get the scarcity window. This is not a lot. They'll sell every single one. I think after March is when you'll have that slowdown, unless somehow it's complete garbage at launch. I don't see that happening. They're just gonna sell through them. It's probably not enough.
Yeah,
I just love the way you said that. It's complete garbage.
Hot garbage. Hot garbage.
Like when you Cassandra, you mentioned too, like obviously these numbers also depend on like when it comes out. Like if it comes out in November, that's going to be more impressive in terms of sales than if it comes out in September.
Yeah,
but even
months,
still, that's still like a roughly 6-month period, which is still a pretty small amount of time for 10 million for something brand new. That if we compare it to when the Switch launched, when any other Nintendo console launched, to be honest, when the PS5 launched, when the Xbox Series X launched, these things all had shortages, and reaching those numbers early were difficult.
Right. No, yeah, you're definitely right. I did look back at Switch sales just for comparison, and roughly within the first year, perhaps a little bit more, they ended up selling, I believe, is like 17.5 million units. So clearly, this isn't too far outside the realm of possibility, especially because, again, assuming it launches this year, which it really feels like it's going to, it's going to have two major things going for it. One, the launch itself. They're going to sell out everything they have available at launch. Two, Christmas as well. Those are Christmas is historically, I believe, even with the Switch, their biggest time of year for sales. I mean, which isn't a surprise, but especially for Nintendo. So that's two massive days, and if they have the inventory to sell, unless they totally bungle the launch, as Tom was saying, they should be in the good shape to, I think, easily reach 10 million, assuming they're able to manufacture that many. So
yeah, I respect them. Like if they do this launch successfully with like a huge amount of units, I respect them not doing a Switch Pro at that time to have a very limited shortage with chips. So
yeah, that's very true.
Now we just gotta see when we're gonna hear about this darn thing. Hopefully soon. It's February. I've been saying March. I'm thinking we may hear about it next month, possibly shortly after or right around when Princess Peach Showtime launches. So
I'm just hoping that they're gonna have enough compelling games for people to buy in the same window too.
Right. Yeah. That's the key thing. Especially, I mean, luckily they'll have backwards compatibility. So, I mean, I assume they'll have backwards compatibility, but they'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
So luckily it won't be as dire if the lineup's not great. But the thing is, Nintendo isn't really under like any immediate threat. Like, they don't need to shove a system out there like they, have in the past. Like the Wii U, they really had to get something else out there because Wii was waning, but they weren't ready in that case. Obviously, they're not quite in the same situation this time, and I think they're going to make sure not to repeat the same mistakes of the past. They might make new mistakes, but they're not going to make the same mistakes.
No, of course.
All right, we got some fun little game things I want to talk about today. First off, earlier this week, Celeste's sixth anniversary, the amazing 2D platformer Celeste, in celebration of the 6th anniversary, they released a 6D4. I didn't even make that connection before. 64 version, basically, a game that looks like a Celeste if it had appeared on that platform in 3D as a collectathon type thing, I believe. Joey, you ended up playing for us, right? How was it going back to like a 64 style game? Did it feel like it captured the essence? Was it fun? What did you think?
It was pretty fun. Yeah, it definitely felt like a free like little game in some spots, because I don't know, for some reason the button mapping in it is just off. It's like completely off. Like,
it's a weird thing to mess up.
Yeah, it is. And but once you figure out like which button jumps, which button dashes, it becomes fine, you know. But I wish like they included button mapping in there. Like, for some reason you pause the game and all you can do, and there's like a menu, but you can't select anything on the menu. I don't understand how you flub that so bad. But other than that, the game is pretty fine. It's fun, it's cute, it's very much, it kind of feels a lot like Bowser's Fury in some aspects, because
so much
it's
Bowser's Fury today. That's awesome.
Because it's like Odyssey / Bowser's Fury, because it's one big giant area where you're exploring and you're collecting strawberries, and you get these powers like in different areas that are limited to those areas, and it's pretty cool. I highly recommend you guys check it out whenever you get the chance, because hey, it's free, so you can't beat the price of free.
True.
if you go to that page, also like a couple years ago, they made a Celeste 2 for the Pico fictional system.
Wait, what? They did?
Yeah, if you go to, I think if you delete.
Wait, didn't they also include like a little bit of that in the original? Oh no, that was just a prototype, right? Okay, so this is like a new like lower bit version, lo-fi version.
Yeah, and I think it has like a grappling hook in it. Is what
I recall.
Oh, yeah, grappling hook. All right, you got my interest.
It was tough though. I couldn't quite master it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check it out myself. I was a huge fan of Celeste. I think, Joey, you were too, right? You were a big fan of the original Celeste?
I was a pretty big fan, yeah. I've only played it once. It's been a while since I played it, because, hey, it's been 6 years since it came out. So, yeah, I definitely have to revisit that at some point. It's just got some really smooth platforming and very challenging, but it's just like when you get over those hurdles, it feels just so good. Yeah, it's a really great platformer.
Well, especially because the way you said that, getting with those hurdles, like it ties into the narrative of the game, which is so brilliantly well done. It's like interwoven perfectly with the story and myriads of story and gameplay perfectly. Yes. Does the 64 version do anything like that? Is there any story here or anything?
Hardly any. There's really there's Granny, and then you talk to Granny and she talks about, oh, my farts are cold, and like that's about it. At least I didn't play the full thing. Maybe there's some later, but that was like the only story elements that I found. So
it was made in a week, so that's not, or about a week, so that's not
a lot of time to. Yeah, it's impressive. And again, it's free. So
that story in Celeste was way too like unexpectedly like deep. God, it was so deep.
It did. You know, usually I'm not a huge fan of when story gets in the way of gameplay, but it doesn't in this case. Like they really married it perfectly. It's like there are very few games I would say that combine the story in a way so eloquently and so naturally that it just feels like it would be a lesser game without it. So yeah, great job. Super 8 reminds me of a fun bit in the original game where Celeste did have that amazing white block Easter egg, which is a reference to Mario 3, where you could go behind the scenery. So that was fun.
Cool. Man, I have to point out, the developer's next game is called Earthblade, and it's due out this year, and it's a Metroidvania.
Oh, right up your alley, Joey.
Yes, I am beyond excited, especially if it plays as well as Celeste.
So that way, when you're waiting for Metroid Prime 4, you can play that.
Yeah.
Or, Joey, you can play another game we have here, being a demo of Mario versus Donkey Kong. Randomly popped out a couple of days ago. Nintendo's like, hey, there's a demo out. You can go play it right now. So I did a live stream on it the day it came out. Has anyone else had a chance to try this yet?
I haven't had a chance to yet.
I want to. It looks, there's something interesting about it to me. I've never played the original Mario versus Donkey Kong, so this would definitely feel like a brand new spanking game to me. So I'm glad they released a demo.
True.
Yeah. I played it.
Oh, good.
Well, I was just gonna say, as the puzzles, like it's kind of a slower pace at times, but I was reminded how many different Mario's jumps were in it that I love, and like you can go on your hands and stuff. You don't really see that here too much, but seeing the trailer though at the end, the tease of like how many future puzzles there are, I think that's where it'll really heat up. But I think it's better than what it seems.
Did you play either the original game or DK94?
I've only played a bit of DK94, which is amazing.
Yeah, what's cool about this game? Yeah, DK94 is really good, and this is the closest. This is the only thing we have to a sequel to that. There's been plenty of Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, but the only one that feels like the original '94 Game Boy one is this. So if you enjoyed that and you haven't played the GBA one already, you may want to check out the Switch version. I played the demo. The demo is unfortunately really short. It's like if you're just focusing on it, like you can beat it in probably like 10 minutes. It's a ridiculously short demo. There's only, I think, 4 levels, and they're even sporadically from like the first world. So you didn't even play them in order, which is a kind of a weird choice. I wish they had like brought in a few levels from later in the game to give us a better sense of, the difficulty, because I played the GBA one years ago, but I don't remember really much about it. But from what I played, I enjoyed it. I like the visuals. It's a nice upgrade. The backgrounds I found especially appealing, and they are adding that new 2-player feature, which I played by myself. Totally worked. It was a little difficult because I had to control 2 characters almost at once. But it's cool because they don't just add the second character; they also add like another collectible, a key. That character has to grab to unlock a second lock on the door, for instance. So that was a nice little twist, and it does make the game a little bit more challenging. So it's not just easier across the board than playing with 2 people.
Yeah,
that's true. A lot of games tend to do that, where playing in co-op just makes the game easier. So it actually seems like it's well designed around the co-op mode, which is good.
It is good. Exactly. All right. That's it for all the news I had. Chat, if you have anything else that we haven't talked about news-wise, let us know. But we're not done here yet, because now it's time for Topical Freeze. This is a moment where we slow things down a bit, freeze it, if you will, to focus in on what may not necessarily be news, though it could also be, but a topic I want to talk about, because this one speaks to me. This comes to us by way of one of Sakurai's recent videos. One of the, what's probably going to be one of his final videos, because we know he's ending this year, maybe not immediately soon. But basically, Sakurai is saying, hurry up with the trailers and show us actual gameplay. He's tired of trailers that doesn't show us, they only show cinematic cutscenes. It doesn't really give us any idea of how the game plays. And Sakurai, you are 100% right. I am so tired of like these expos or gaming showcases or game awards, or I want to say directs. Directs are actually pretty good about this. But like any of these, direct-like events that just are just trailer after trailer after trailer of purely cinematics, no gameplay, and I consider it a snooze fest. I don't care. I don't care how good your game looks in cutscene form. It bores me. I want to see the actual gameplay for itself. And I know that may not always be the most exciting thing to showcase, but it's what I want to see. I want to see how the game plays, and I understand that there are reasons why they can't always do that, but I think this industry is just so focused on making it look good for the trailer that we forget that at the end of the day, what matters most is how it plays. And I just can't. It's part of the reason why I honestly can barely stand any of these gaming showcases. But I just feel like assaulted by all these movie-like trailers for things I don't really care about, because they're not giving me anything to care about it.
No, exactly. Like, there's definitely a lot of times, especially you see this a lot during like the Game Awards, for example, where it's the cinematic reveal trailer for something, and it tells you like it's now in production, or it doesn't even have a date, and it maybe gives you an idea of what like the world and the story might be like, or like what the premise is, but it doesn't even give you a lick of gameplay. And it's like, well, did we need to see that now then? Like, you couldn't have done a waited like 6 months, done a version of this trailer that had like a minute of gameplay afterwards. Yeah, it would have been longer, but it would have had some more substance to it. Because it really is the case. So sometimes I think people are too focused on a game as entertainment and less so as games. And when they make trailers for it, they lose the play element of it, the game element of it.
Yeah, you can tell like these trailers were made to appease shareholders, and that was it. It's just like, we don't have anything to show you of this game, but here's something. And then what gets me most is when it's just a logo, Nintendo. So yeah, it is really frustrating, and especially when I do get like a CGI trailer for an already established franchise. like, I don't know, like if the next Zelda game, like this would never happen, right? Because Nintendo's good about not doing CGI trailers. But if there was like a new Zelda game being made and like they had to do a CGI trailer for it or whatever, I'd be like, okay, I can get an idea of what this would be like because we know what a Zelda game plays like. But when it's a new IP, a CGI trailer does nothing. It does literally nothing for me, which the Game Awards especially is very bad about, because they announce all these like, you know, sci-fi shooters. Look, there's another sci-fi shooter, but it's always like CGI trailer. And if you're lucky, 5 seconds of game. Yes, Gage plays. It's always some boring shooter. But if you're lucky, maybe you'll get a 5-second snippet of gameplay at the very end of the trailer because they still are in like alpha. There's not even a name for that. But yeah, it is insane. It's ridiculous. And this is a symptom of video games taking way too long to make, which is a problem in and of itself. That's its whole other topic. But yeah, it's annoying. I agree with Sakurai.
I can see why they do it, though. Maybe their gameplay is still rough and they don't want to show it yet, but they should have a vertical slice at some point that looks good, that they could use for some gameplay. Thinking, comparing what is it, like the Metal Gear Solid remake they're working on, like how little they showed until we actually got what kind of looks like gameplay. But compare that to Death Stranding 2, where there's tons of trailers going on, but at least they showed the main character going around in vehicles and stuff.
He did show gameplay in this time.
They showed something.
I still haven't seen that trailer because I haven't beaten the first game yet, but I've seen snippets of it, and it's so funny watching them all out of context.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, here's a dude with an electric guitar, and literally an electric guitar because it's shocking people. So great.
But no, Tom, you're definitely right. A lot of times it does seem like these trailers are because there's the risk of they don't have gameplay to show yet. But I feel like that begs the question then of, is it too early to show off the game?
I think they'll probably catch on and have that shorter window because it seems like people's attention span is very low. And maybe then they'll have more to show at the end or spend more on the trailer editor, get a hint. The people that won't, maybe they won't be successful.
Yeah, and you know, we also talked about Kojima just now with Death Stranding. He announced another game called OD, and it was just behind the scenes like motion capture footage, and they talked about that thing for like 10 minutes on stage. Got more time on stage than most of the award winners did to do their acceptance speeches. It's just ridiculous.
The difference there, it was so weird. It was memorable compared to a lot of other Game Awards trailers. Just like the faces and like, what are they saying? And then the hidden hints in it later. So
that's because it wasn't just a CG trailer. They actually had him come up and talk about it.
Yeah, that too.
Because a lot of times you get just a CG trailer and then like the title drop and then like it moves on to the next thing. It's like, well, what did I just look at? And then like the next trailer, you already forget.
But at the end of the day, I know less about that game than I would if they did a CGI trailer. You know, it's a mess of stuff. And shout out to Sylvie, you and Joey. You inspired me to buy a secondhand official Pro controller on eBay. I ended up getting a Xenoblade 2 controller.
Oh wow!
Excellent.
Hey, nice.
Glad to inspire you, Sylvie. Excellent.
Maybe for OD, we had so much of Kojima talking after, it let us have that trailer settle in, while other ones like boom right away to the next trailer and we forget.
I guess,
yeah. Tom, what's that one trailer editor I keep mentioning? Always forget his name. He's got the YouTube channel.
It's weird because his name's almost like the Splunky creator's name. It's like Derek
Glue or something.
Oh, Derek Glue, yeah.
Derek Liu, yeah.
Yeah. I look him up on YouTube if you haven't already. I think he's had similar complaints as well, if I remember correctly. And he himself, he's a trailer editor, and he makes trailers largely, if not entirely, focused around gameplay. He does an amazing job. And I think it works largely in the indie space, but I think he's worked on some larger
He did Half-Life Alyx's trailer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really? That's impressive.
He got to play the game for about a month and do it. So.
And that was a great trailer. And that trailer was like all gameplay, wasn't it?
Yeah, like remember the scene where they throw down the clip and like you turn around and you grab it? Like,
oh god, that was so good. Yeah. Derek Blue's great. I follow him on TikTok and YouTube. Definitely has some really interesting insights into trailer design, and I want more of that. Again, I understand, and he actually had a video explaining why the cinematic trailers exist. Whether it's like it's so early in development, there's nothing to show yet, or that perhaps as Joe is suggesting is to appease shareholders or start building hype or whatever. It's just like I'm so tired of them. There's so many of them, and they all just run together for me. And I just really only care about the gameplay one. So I wish we could get back to that.
I do want to note too, because it came up in chat, because we had mentioned Nintendo doesn't usually do that too much. There was someone noting how Breath of the Wild 2, or sequel to Breath of the Wild, technically was that. It was like the cutscene trailer that is
that's
ended up being
true.
very different in the beginning of the game, but it was largely that scene from the beginning of the game where they confront Ganon.
It does, I will say it does kind of speak to Joey's point, I think, which is that like it's from an established series. So
Yeah.
especially with it being a Breath of the Wild sequel. So there is room for, I don't think there's any hard and fast rules to it. Because I agree with you. I think in that case it was probably fine. We already know the basic gameplay of Breath of the Wild. Of course, they sat on the true gameplay with the Ultra Hand for years after that point. Which I wonder how much they even knew about it back then themselves. In any case, yeah. So I think there is, it's not a hard and fast rule, but I do think there are way too many cinematic trailers now versus gameplay trailers.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Like it's almost weird when you have like the gameplay reveal trailers. It's like this should have been the reveal. Period. Anyways, all right. Well, I think I wrapped up for our topical freeze segment, but Aiden reminded me of one more story I wanted to touch on that I forgot to include, so we're going to do it now. Super Aiden says, the only news thing I can think of is that there are those Super Nintendo World packs we got for Universal Studios Orlando that looked amazing, especially the way you enter the land. It's so magical. So yeah, I actually brought it up while we were discussing that. Let me see here. So first of all, they officially announced the lands for the universes, I guess, for this park. So in case you don't know, this is Universal's third park in Orlando, which is opening next year. It says right there. And if you've been following the theme park space, you've known about these lands forever. I forget if they actually officially announced them or not, but now they have for sure, being Super Nintendo World, the Orlando version, Dark Universe, Harry Potter based on the Ministry of Magic, Dragon, Isle of Berk. Then you also have the Central Celestial Park, which is like the hub of it, and then you also have the Helios Hotel, I believe. So I think they're basically there's 5 lands in total if you count the hub area, which will include its own attractions. And what's cool is with this park is it almost seems like an evolution of Islands of Adventure. If anyone's been there, we have these like IP based islands, but this time they're going even more in depth, where it seems like the idea is you take these portals into these universes, and then you're like encompassed by it. Like you probably won't be able to see much of anything outside the land. They really want to envelop you into these lands, or surround you by them. And if you look at the Super Nintendo World picture in particular, you can see what they're doing here. Like this really neat entrance. You've got the warp pipe inside, which will take you into the land, and it's really going to make it feel. I mean, we've already had a little taste of this at the Hollywood version of this land, because it's a similar concept where you take a warp pipe into the land, and you really do feel like you're just there, like you're in this one universe, and there's nothing about the outside world that is visible or really reminds you of it. So it's a cool concept. I was curious what you guys thought, as more casual theme park fans who may not be following all the news, if you've been following the developments that Universal just announced.
That's
yeah,
really
looking at the concept art here, like I think it's really cool. Like I think
Harry
the
Potter,
ideas the ideas they have going into this are really cool. And I think seeing how they've already handled things like Super Nintendo World and other spaces, I'm excited to see how they not only bring that to Orlando, but also these other ones, in all honesty. Because I think in general, all of these are gonna feel really fun to go to, like in this new park. Because you're not just gonna walk in and only go to Super Nintendo World. If you're going to this whole new theme park, you're gonna want to go check out everything else there too. So it'll probably feel really jarring to go from to walk out of Super Nintendo World and go, okay, I'm gonna go into what was the one right next to it, the Dark Universe.
Yeah,
that's gonna be really jarring right next to each other.
Yeah.
Which I should clarify, the Dark Universe is based on Universal's their collection of monster-based movies like Frankenstein or
The Mummy.
Mummy. Yeah, exactly. Other characters. I think like Wolf Man, maybe. I forget who was all there. But that's what it's based on, not like the DCU or anything. So.
Right.
Yeah.
It certainly
They
looks
tried to make the Dark Universe a movie thing, but they tried doing that with the Tom Cruise Mummy movie, and it just was awful. So
I still can't go over that initial trailer where they screwed up the audio. You only hear Tom Cruise yelling hilariously.
Yeah,
I can't believe they released that.
Tom, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was going to say the entrance certainly looks like a super version of Super Nintendo World. I mean,
Yeah.
it's what you expect from the Florida infinite space, but it'll be a beat up version. I probably will never get to go to this one, but compared to
Yeah.
how small the other ones are, it's nice they can have this giant one.
Yeah, because Hollywood's already smaller than Japan, and this one's gonna
Yeah.
be even bigger than either of them.
I think it's special too that this one is going to open with the Donkey Kong expansion. It's not a Donkey Kong expansion; it's just part of it from the get-go. And in the little concept art for the portal, there you see DK and Diddy, like they're part of it at its core from the get-go.
Well, I didn't even notice that. Hold on.
On the portal where, under Mario, where it says "Here we go," there's characters on both sides.
Oh, yeah, you're
And
right.
I think
That's
DK and
cool.
Diddy are on the bottom of both sides.
It's interesting that there's the rumors of like a Luigi's Mansion expansion to this part. There's also rumors of Pokemon and Zelda coming as well, not to Epic Universe but Universal other theme parks. But it's nice to get more characters beyond just Mario. At least at one of the Super Nintendo World parks. But it's weird that they call it Super Nintendo World and then it's just Mario. It might as well have been Mario World or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
You know?
Super Mario World. Yeah.
Is Zelda part of the Epic universe, or is that somewhere else?
No, that's going to go at Island of Adventure. Rumor
Okay.
is. So it's
Got
going to be actually right next to Harry Potter. So we could have the Hyrule Castle right next to the Hogwarts.
Castle.
Yeah.
That'd be one hell of a crossover.
So as that would be, so as a theme park fan and Nintendo fan, I'm excited about everything I'm seeing here. Even though I've been to Super Nintendo World already in Hollywood, I'm really excited for the bigger version at Orlando, especially with the DK minecart ride, which is literally exactly what I've wanted for decades, ever since I was a kid. And I'm excited for this whole theme park in general. Like I think it's a cool idea. It's nice to see a new big theme park, because we haven't had one in over 20 years from either Disney or Universal in Orlando. Wow. And almost 25 years, really. And actually, it has been 25 years. And it's going to be awesome to see that. So I'm glad Universal stepping up their game, especially with Nintendo. And it's going to force Disney, hopefully, to eventually step up their game, too. And I'm excited to see what this rivalry is going to bring. But exciting times in the theme park space. So
I want to quickly point out, in Japan, I think Universal is almost more popular than Disney in some respects.
Really?
Yeah, in
really cool.
terms of the excitement. But it's just in Osaka.
I've seen a lot of hype for recently, especially for Universal Singapore. I think they have like an amazing Jurassic Park ride. Like they're the only ones that have like I think it's an actual Jeep based Jurassic Park ride. Like why has no one else done this? Like that's the thing with Jurassic Park. You never ride boats in the movie. You're in a Jeep, and it looks epic. I'm like, oh man, I need to go there. I've been trying to avoid like seeing too many spoilers of it because it looks so freaking cool. But yeah, I'm excited right now. So, anyways, anything else before we wrap it up here that you want to touch on that we haven't mentioned yet?
It's been a surprisingly busy week.
Yeah.
For news, like gaming news, it's been a bigger week than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly point out, State of Play announced they're going to have that February 6th Final Fantasy event. Maybe we can use that to kind of guess when a potential direct will be.
I was thinking,
if it's like the same day, maybe. I feel like that's happened before. No, I feel like it's happened 2 times in a row, actually. There was a direct and a State of Play at the same day, 2022, and I think that happened again a year later. So that'd be funny.
So it's worth stating, yes, obviously by being in February, we are now in Nintendo Direct season, as Aiden says. And going off the last few years, it's in the first half of the month. Because at the second half of the month, at the end of the month, is when Pokemon does that Pokemon Day celebration. So they usually want like at least a week separation between those two things. So I feel like if this Final Fantasy VII State of Play is on Tuesday the 6th, I believe is when it is, I think we could see a direct on either Wednesday the 7th or Thursday the 8th, or the following Wednesday or Thursday on Valentine's Day or the 15th. Actually, no, I don't think it'll be that week, because that's when Mario vs. Donkey Kong comes out, the 16th, and they never do directs the week of a release.
Are you sure about that?
Very rarely. Usually they wait till they either do it a couple weeks before, or they wait till like the first days right after.
I feel like they've done it once at least. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I remember quite a few games. It was like okay, the game's out, bam, like the next Tuesday, bam, Nintendo Direct announced. Like, wow, they were waiting for that game to be out and done so they can move past it. So okay, in that case, I think we're looking at either around February 7th or the 21st. That's what I think.
So, okay, all right. I think that's reasonable.
I think you want to buffer from Final Fantasy. So
that's a good point too. Yeah, I mean, I think in any case, there's going to be a direct on the sooner end rather than later, but I also wouldn't expect too much from it. I'm really expecting this first direct to really just focus on the current Switch, what, anything we don't know about, possibly, maybe a handful of surprises. I mean, even a handful, I think, is being optimistic. Like a surprise, maybe. And then I think then eventually, next month, very possibly we'll get the Switch 2 news. So, but that's just all speculation. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, everyone, I think I'm just going to wrap up our pipeline this week. Thank you for watching. Let us know if there's anything else you want. Let us know in the comments if there's anything else you want to want us to talk about. Especially hit us up in the Discord if you come across any stories you want us to discuss next week, so we can log them and we'll make sure to talk about them. On that note, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great weekend. And we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.